Was the sauce all just fresh tomatoes?
Mm-hmm.
Tomatoes. It's delicious.
Crazy.
Just like grandmother.
For this recipe, you're going to need 1.5 kilos of tomatoes, ripe tomatoes. That's a little over 3 pounds. 15 green cardamom pods and a little 3-finger pinch of mace. So mace, do you know what it is? Do you know where it grows?
No, never heard of it.
Mace is the outside covering of the nutmeg.
Oh.
So you have the nutmeg that we're all familiar with, the one that you grind. Then it has a nutshell that almost looks like a pecan, a really hard nutshell that you have to crack off. Over top of that is mace, and that's probably like the green living component, that, like the fruit, I should say. And so mace is similar. It's similar to nutmeg. Like, you can definitely tell that they're related, but it has more citrus and a little more brightness, and I really love it. So if you can find mace in its shard form, when you grind it in your recipes, it's like using fresh spices. So that's why I prefer it. 7 or 8 cloves of garlic and some garam masala. Garam masala is an Indian spice mix, and it varies by region. I personally love making my own because a lot of garam masalas that you buy in the store don't have fennel in them, and I really like fennel in mine. So I'm going to go ahead and put a recipe below this video for garam masala, and you can make your own, and it's much nicer.
Look below for garam masala.
Actually, the recipe for all of my videos, and I don't often say this because I forget, they're always below the video. So for the tomato butter gravy, it's called butter gravy for a reason, and it has a lot of butter in it, like a cup of butter. But we're talking like 3 pounds of tomatoes, and this makes enough for 3 or 4 meals, depending on how you use it. And you could probably stretch it further if you're gonna just put it like on a baked potato or something simple like that. So don't freak out, there's a lot of butter, but it's so worthwhile. And if you skimp on the butter and say put in a tablespoon, you've just made a marinara. Like, you haven't made butter gravy. So if butter and fat scares you and you're still trapped in the 80s, there's a really good book called Good Calorie, Bad Calorie. So if you want to read that, it might change how you see fat. In your pan over medium heat, place 1 tablespoon of butter and 1 tablespoon of oil. As soon as your butter melts, go ahead and add in the mace and the cardamom pods. So when your spices become fragrant and you can start to smell them, saute your tomatoes over high. We want to cook these down just until they get pulpy. We're going to strain these and run them through a colander. Now, what this is doing is it's straining out a majority of the pulp, and we'll just work them through with a spatula. We're going to save the pulp, so don't throw it away. We're going to blend it in the blender. So the pulp has the seeds, the skins, the cardamom pods, and the mace. It's going to blend it down, and we're going to run that again through the sieve. So what that's going to do is it's actually going to grind those spices for us, and then the last straining is going to have a really nice aroma. Want to go high? You probably could just blend the whole thing the first time. I learned this recipe from an Indian chef on YouTube, and I will put his name and the link to his recipe below because it's fantastic. And thank you, Be Rich. One of my subscribers suggested that I make this recipe, and I did, and I'm very grateful for you for that. So thanks for the link.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
And then this will get out any little errant bits of seed or little pieces of mace. Isn't that nice?
Oh, I love it.
And it's so simple, like 2 spices. But because most of us didn't grow up with mace or cardamom, we just aren't familiar with branching out of, basil, oregano, marjoram. While Dan is straining out the tomato puree, I'm going to go ahead and put a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of oil in my pan and saute 2 heaping tablespoons of garlic. And you don't even need to wash out your pan for this. To the garlic, add 1.5 teaspoons of chili powder. It's preferred if you use Kashmiri chili powder. I have New Mexican, so I'm going to go ahead and add that. And I'm using mild chili powder, which produces a sauce that has no heat at all. If you want a little spice and want a little heat, go ahead and kick it up a notch. When your garlic and your chili become really fragrant and cooked, maybe a minute or so, go ahead and pour your tomato sauce back in your pan. That looks awesome. So this we're going to cook down another probably half an hour. You want it to reduce by about half so it starts to thicken up, where right now it's really runny. And you want to cook off that raw garlic and the raw tomato flavors. So our tomato mixture has reduced down by half. Isn't it beautiful? It's thick. It's salty, it's sweet, it's really a nice mixture. Now we're gonna add in the butter.
It's like a richer, darker terracotta color.
Isn't it pretty? So this recipe, as I said, it is a tomato butter gravy. And if you are gun shy of adding this much butter to anything that you make, this might not be the recipe for you.
Get over it. Julia Child, can't be wrong.
Do you want to stir?
Sure.
So stir that until the butter melts.
Smells so good.
Tomatoes are very acidic, and oftentimes, especially if you're using highly pasteurized milk, yogurt, or cream, it will curdle when you add it to tomatoes. So to ensure that that doesn't happen and alleviate it, put in a tiny pinch of baking soda, and it will neutralize that acid so that you get a creamy, smoother sauce. And then we're going to add in about a cup. Now I'm using kefir, which is a liquid pourable, it's not specifically a yogurt, it is milk that has been cultured. So the last time I made this, I made it with a Greek style yogurt, which is really thick, and it produces a thicker sauce. This time we're going to cook our vegetables in it, so I wanted a thinner sauce. See how nice and creamy and smooth it is? You don't get any of that like yogurt curdling.
Oh wow. Did you already put the sugar in it?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Isn't that
amazing.
nice? After about 20 or 30 minutes, your sauce will be noticeably thicker and your vegetables are really nice and soft. Go ahead and add in the spinach and the peas. And you just cook these long enough to wilt the spinach, just a minute or two. There you are.
Looks like Indian.
Some rice.
Shukriya.
Yum. Thank you for helping.
Thank you.
Thanks for filming.
Yeah, sure.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Nice work, everybody.
This tomato butter sauce recipe is part of a Cook Your CSA series that I'm doing with my friend Dan Thal from Hood River Organic. If you're interested in learning more about CSA, click the link to this video where you hear Dan and I talk about his farm and starting out and what it means to be an organic farmer and deliver direct to your customers. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Corinne.